Welcome to the first episode of the Hunter x Hunter post-anime event summary. Without further ado, let's get started. At the start of the events, we see a short man entering the Zodiac meeting room shouting about an emergency situation. At the same time, Cheadle was about to announce some important news. At first, the members of the Zodiac think she is going to resign from her position as chairwoman, but she reassures them before allowing Beans to speak. Beans presents a video showing the king of the Kakin Empire, a large man named Nasubihuiguorao, delivering an impassioned speech in which he talks about shouldering all of humanity's future dreams. He then announces that the Kakin Empire will head to the Dark Continent. Upon hearing this, the members of the Zodiac are stunned, except for Kanzai, who knows nothing about the Dark Continent. Cheadle explains that the Dark Continent is a place that does not appear on the world map, but it is inhabited by human-like beings and magical beasts. She adds that every previous attempt by humans to reach it ended in disasters that befell them upon their return. Because of those events, the 5 great nations of the world, known as the V5, signed a treaty 200 years ago prohibiting travel there. Cheadle explains that 30 years ago, Kakin technically became a new country after exploiting a certain incident, seizing the monarchy and turning it into a parliamentary democracy, and most likely did not renew its treaties or perhaps got rid of them entirely. As the discussion continues, Beans interrupts them, pointing to the screen and saying that the truly worrying part is about to come. In the video, Nasubi appears introducing the person who will lead the expedition to the Dark Continent and proudly announces the legendary hunter, Isaac Netero, the former chairman of the Hunter Association. Then he says that they have enlisted his son, Beyond Netero, to lead the expedition. The Zodiacs are once again surprised to learn that Netero had a son. Cheadle suggests verifying the matter, but when Beyond begins his speech, some of the Zodiacs recognize him because of his striking resemblance to his late father. Beyond reiterates that he will take charge of everything and assures that everyone will have an equal opportunity in this new world. He shouts and encourages everyone to come to Kakin to begin their journey to the new world, leaving everyone in the meeting hall stunned. Beans reveals that Netero had left behind 2 DVDs, and as he places the second disc on the table, he explains that he was supposed to show this disc to all the Zodiacs if any of them claimed to be Netero's child. But since Ging and Pariston are not present, they can't watch it. Cheadle interrupts the argument among the Zodiacs to begin her announcement, but she doesn't immediately reveal the content of her announcement. Instead, we shift to seeing the reaction of people around the world, who are amazed by Beyond Netero's announcement and can't stop watching it on what looks like their version of YouTube. Beyond himself, in another place, appears relaxed, drinking, and hears that the king has received a warning from the V5 to cancel the previous announcement and sign a treaty instead. And after receiving a huge amount of information from his curly-haired friend, Beyond decides to ignore the orders of the V5 and insists on exploring the unknown world without any supervision. Standing before his 10 important followers, including the cunning snake Pariston, he announces that he is ready to see a land no one has ever seen before, meet people no one has ever met, and obtain things no one has ever touched. And all of this by his own will, without any restrictions. We return to the Zodiacs, where Cheadle explains that her news was that they actually don't need to wait for Ging and Pariston because both of them have resigned from the Zodiac membership, so now there are only 10 of them, which allows them to meet the association's requirements. Moreover, there is something even more important. The V5 have assigned them a special mission to hunt down Beyond Netero. Elsewhere, the director of the International Permit Agency and his new deputy Steiner, who are affiliated with the V5, arrive in a fortified corridor and discuss their agency's role in the upcoming journey to the Dark Continent. As they enter the elevator, the director points out that the Guardian of the New World dislikes impolite visitors, and if negotiations with Kakin fail, it will be very difficult to stop them. Steiner asks what might happen, and the director responds with a cryptic remark about Pandora's box, which Steiner assumes is just a metaphor. But the director clarifies that he used to think so too when he was young, before they came here. Then he opens a door to the basement, where the room is filled with corpses and terrifying creatures, the result of the last attempt to explore the Dark Continent. Steiner is stunned and starts to panic, revealing that these creatures were originally humans. The director hands him a book called Journey to the New World, explaining that he used to think it was just fiction. But now it has become a legendary text containing exploratory experiences dating back hundreds of years. The director explains that all those corpses they see never made it to the Dark Continent. Instead, they were discovered in the known world. Then he asks Steiner to memorize every detail of this book and identify the potential risks of the journey. While wandering in the basement, a creature suddenly strikes the glass, startling Steiner. The director explains that this being is the only survivor from their facility, but it is no longer human. This is a creature that does not need food like humans do. It has lived for 50 years self-sufficiently. He adds that every attempt by humans to explore the Dark Continent ended in a devastating disaster that they brought back home with them. The director continues, saying that this being was once a hunter, but was exposed to a virus that made it unable to die. Meanwhile, the Zodiacs watch the second disc, where the late Netero appears and talks about his mysterious son Beyond, who previously visited the Dark Continent and brought back new threats that caused great losses. Because of this, he forbade him from attempting it again as long as he was alive, and this also made it forbidden for the Hunter Association as well. Netero explains that he only entered the continent twice when he was young, and realized that the strength required to survive there was not what he was seeking. For the New World is a battle against Mother Nature in which there are no winners. He declares that he wants the Hunter Association to discover the Dark Continent before his son does, to overcome the dangers of the New World and to return safely because the difficulty of the mission is, without question, of the highest rank. But he ends his message by stressing that this is a request, not an order, and that the decision is up to them. But they realized it was an order, given what they knew about the chairman. So Cheadle agrees to the mission and says that since it is an order from the late chairman, there is no other choice. However, she emphasizes that the rest of the hunters should not join them. Kanzai objects to chasing Beyond, saying that this has made the race to the New World unfair, because Beyond has been preparing for this day for decades. One of the Zodiacs wonders if any of them have actually thought about going to the Dark Continent. They mention that Ging is the only one reckless enough to even consider it. Jiren says that their help would make the competition theoretically fair, otherwise Kakin and Beyond would have a huge advantage. And while the argument continues, Beans receives a mysterious call. It turns out that the caller is Beyond Netero himself, who suddenly appears before the Zodiacs standing there. He starts by greeting Beans as if he's known him for years. Then he asks them to call the V5 and tell them that they have captured Beyond Netero. Upon hearing this, everyone is shocked because no one expected something like that. Elsewhere, Steiner begins reading the book he was asked to memorize. And it turns out there are 5 threats that humans previously brought from the Dark Continent, which are Desire's tapeworm, a gaseous lifeform called Eye, a spherical body that guards mysterious ancient ruins, the plant weapon Brian, a beast that infects its prey with a desire to fight, the reward serpent, Hybel bound between life and pleasure, a beast that keeps humans as pets, eternal despair disguised as hope, the immortality disease Zobe. After reading all this, Steiner admits that this place is not suitable for humans. We return to the Zodiac, where we see Beyond now being held in a cell while Cheadle interrogates him and the rest of the Zodiac stand by and watch. Beyond sits in a seemingly helpless position. He tells the Zodiac that they will release him and join him on his journey to the Dark Continent. Cheadle quickly rejects the idea and describes him as just a glow, but Beyond asks her to listen to him before she submits a report to the 5. Cheadle placed the recorder on the table and suggested that their conversation be recorded, and Beyond agreed. However, as she looked at him, she immediately noticed the strong resemblance between him and the chairman, not just in appearance but also in his presence, which made her feel a shiver. Elsewhere, the 5 and their assistant Stina discuss previous expeditions to the Dark Continent. It is revealed that their world is actually located at the center of a massive lake called Mobius, and this very lake is itself located within the Dark Continent. According to their records, there have been 149 attempts to cross, but out of these attempts, only 5 were successful, with a total of 28 survivors returning. Beyond is the only one among them who is still alive. The 5 sets of data that returned were unofficial and occurred after the 5 signed the Immunity Treaty, which means that humanity has never officially succeeded in making a round trip to the New World without a guide. And out of the 28 survivors, only 3 were able to return to their normal lives, making the survival rate about 0.04%. One of the older female staff members asks about the guide, and one of the members replies that a being summons the gatekeeper to help transport people to the Dark Continent. And while some of them are talking among themselves, one of them interrupts, pointing out that talking about the dangers only increases the excitement of adventurers, and the same goes for countries and companies that invest money in hopes of getting a return. Another staff member hints that they need to know the official method so they can stop the Kakin Kingdom. Stina explains that Article 4 of the United Nations Basic Relations Charter states that clauses 7 to 9 prohibit any active intervention in infectious diseases, biological hazards, or unknown threats. However, if it turns out that a country is at risk, then the use of force is permitted in the context of such military intervention. Steiner says that in order to resolve the situation properly, Kaki must be invited to join the 5 Nations group. thus reorganizing it to become the Six Nations Group, or V6. In this way, they unofficially support Kakin's journey to the New World, which also gives them a good image. He then explains that there are many uninhabited islands in the neutral zone within the boundaries of the distant sea, and it can be claimed that these islands are part of the Dark Continent, allowing civilians to start their new lives there, while the actual journey is left to Kakin, but on the condition that the members are carefully selected. This makes sense because they don't want weak people who might put others in danger to go. Since everyone must be able to defend themselves, let's return to the hunters where Cheddar and Beyond continue their conversation. It seems Kanzai is completely confused by the conversation and asks someone to translate it for him. Sacho simply replies that Beyond has gotten a ticket to the Dark Continent in exchange for making the King of Kakin a historical hero. But because the 5 group doesn't like to lose, they had the Zodiacs keep an eye on him. Kanzai asks whether this is beneficial for them. Jill replies that the matter has both positive and negative sides. If the mission succeeds, they might be allowed to hunt in the Dark Continent. But if it fails, they will lose one of their best teammates, with the 5 ending up in a cell. Beyond insists that she contact the 5, believing that they will say, "Tell Beyond that we will accept a supervised expedition and that the supervisor will be the Hunter Association." After a moment, Cheadle agrees on the condition that he is being honest. But first they need to confirm a few things, so she asks them to contact the 5. Immediately outside the room, it is confirmed that the Zodiacs will indeed go to the Dark Continent with Beyond, even if it is against their will. Once again, Zodiac didn't understand anything, so Jill explains that Beyond will be taken to the Dark Continent as a prisoner. But as soon as they arrive there, it's likely that he will escape somehow, which leaves them with the task of dealing with threats, keeping an eye on him, and preventing his companions from interfering. As everyone starts to leave, Shatsu offers to guard Beyond, and Cheadle agrees, then turns to the prisoner and tells him he should be prepared because his imprisonment will be long. Beyond laughs, saying that he'll wait no matter how long it takes. Earlier, while everyone was leaving the meeting room, Steiner was thinking out loud about how their official stance is that the book he recently read is just the product of a writer's imagination. But in reality, that book is the most important document on the planet. The director laughs and pats him on the back, saying that he'll be a great director just like him. Anyway, elsewhere, the Houthi black transport ship is introduced to the public, and it's said that it will carry about 200,000 people. Over the next 5 years, King Nasu announced that he would send 500 ships to the Dark Continent, which amounts to about 100 million people. This man is essentially trying to wipe out the lives of 100 million innocent civilians. But no ordinary person can survive in this death-filled domain. In any case, reporters continue to explain that the first voyage will include Beyond the King and 14 princes. As for the civilians, they will be chosen. They are selected by lottery, and the odds of winning are 1 in 1,300. In the recording studio, a number of reporters discuss the well-known beast book among hunters, which classifies threats. So, the anchor asks one of them to explain in simple terms what the danger level of a Class C threat is. The man replies that threats like bears, sharks, and venomous snakes are things you might encounter if you're unlucky, and they can be deadly in the worst cases. Another anchor adds that some opinions on the internet claim that the Dark Continent definitely has creatures of Class B or even A. The man laughs and says, "Of course, we can't completely rule that out." But these people also assume that humanity has never gone there before because there are dangerous creatures, and that's not accurate. Many ancient ruins describe the disasters caused by venturing to the continent. Science has concluded that these collective traits were the result of infections and viruses, but with modern medicine, it would be easy to prevent these problems at the borders. Moreover, it is likely that what will be discovered there may contain miraculous compounds that could help humanity advance more than ever before. And as the broadcast ends, one of them announces that this will be the greatest gold rush in human history. And at the very moment the broadcast ends on television, he himself arrives at the headquarters of the Beyond expedition team and stands face to face with the cunning snake Pariston. Jin explains that if the government does not respond to Beyond's challenge and send them to the Dark Continent, then Pariston will force their hand by sending 500 chimera ants. Jin continues, saying that he will no longer allow Pariston to do as he pleases, and tells him that he will deal with him personally until Pariston begs him to stop. Pariston looks at Jin with his dark eyes and responds confidently, asking if Jin is finally going to give him some attention. Jin, who was clearly disgusted by Pariston, simply replies that maybe he'll do it just for fun. Nan returns and calls Leorio, inviting him to become a member of the Zodiacs. She explains that the association believes his skills are the most suitable for filling this position, and that they are in urgent need of his help for the upcoming mission. And when Leorio hints that he will refuse the offer because of his studies, she tells him that there is a medical study waiting for him and that she herself will be the head of this study. Leorio, who would have refused the offer in most cases, ends up accepting, because he knows that this opportunity may never come again in his life. He thanks her for giving him this opportunity, but he has just one request. He asks if there is another position available in the Zodiacs because he wants to nominate someone else for that position. And at the headquarters of Beyond's Dark Continent expedition, there, Pariston announces that the Hunter exam will begin soon and that he knows Ging is aware of the existence of 5,000 hidden Chimera ants he has as a backup plan to force the Zodiacs to start the expedition. Pariston believes that Ging will try to recruit the necessary crew through the Hunter exam, and this is so that the association can act independently, which he does not agree with. And when Ging asks him why he wants to destroy the Hunter Association despite his connection to it, Pariston asks him to prove it. Ging begins to explain that Pariston is looking for something new to entertain him because the association has started to bore him, and that's why Ging believes Pariston has decided to move forward and look for new goals. And the fastest way to do that is by spreading the Chimera ants all over the world. This opened up previously forbidden routes to the Dark Continent. He continues, saying that Pariston's followers might easily pass the test and become members of the organization. However, Ging does not see the connection between Pariston's desire to use the Chimera threat against the association. He concludes by declaring that he and Pariston are alike, but their ideas always stray a little from the usual path. Pariston's smile fades as he admits that Ging is absolutely right. He reflects, saying that people usually find happiness in loving and being loved, but he feels even happier when people hate him, and he always feels an uncontrollable urge to destroy the things he loves most. He wonders aloud if that's strange. Ging responds that it's completely beyond comprehension and asserts that they're different in this regard. He quietly tries to ask a question, but Ging tells him to stay away. One of the members stands up, threatening the former Zodiac member. But before he can do anything, he is lifted into the air by Ging, who imagines his face and pummels him with a flurry of punches. And when he returns to reality, he realizes that he may have just witnessed his own death. Then Ging orders him to leave if he understands. After quickly glancing around the room, he notices a robot girl in the corner and asks if she's the highest ranking one here. Preston interrupts him, saying that he's clearly the second in command on the team. Ging notes with surprise that people here aren't ranked by strength. Preston objects, saying he's being underestimated. But Ging replies that even if he stomped on his head and made him cough up blood, he would still keep smiling and laughing in a disgusting way. And that's not how he'll put him in his place. He'll do it by breaking his spirit first. Then he declares that from now on he is number 2 and challenges anyone to oppose him. Mizastom, the Zodiac member with the cow outfit, heads out to look for Kurapika because it's clear that the person Leorio nominated for the important position is him. When he arrives at Kurapika's location, someone tells him that Kurapika isn't there at the moment and asks him to leave. But he insists on waiting. At that moment, 3 men appear and block his way. Calmly, Mizastom pulls out a warning card that shows violence is prohibited. And when the men try to attack him, he uses the card to restrain their movements. This is his special technique, called the closed courtroom, a game of intersection. After that, he sits in the corner of the room and tells the men that they'll be able to move again in a moment. But he warns them that if they take even a single step, he'll freeze their movements over and over again. After seeing this, an employee intervenes and tells him that Kurapika is in the basement, warning him not to anger Kurapika because he's in a bad mood right now. And before he can finish his explanation, Kurapika himself appears and asks about the cause of the noise. And who is this strange man? Mizastom introduces himself as being from the Hunter Association and asks Kurapika for any news regarding the Dark Continent expedition. He invites him to join the Zodiacs at Leorio's request, but Kurapika quickly refuses, saying that he's busy. When Mizastom mentions the famous scarlet eyes, and as soon as Kurapika hears that, his scarlet eyes glow, he reveals his chains and threatens Mizastom, demanding that he choose his words carefully from now on. Mizastom tells him that there is an illegal website on the internet where criminals sell rare items. 6 months ago, a video was posted showing several scarlet eyes. Kurapika, who had already seen the video, knows what it contains. But Mizastom surprises him by announcing that they managed to identify the owner of those eyes, something Kurapika and his companions had failed to do. He tells them that they all want him to join the Zodiacs and go with them to the Dark Continent, but that he will have to spend about 2 months on a ship. Then he asks him to think carefully about it before giving his answer. Kurapika asks if that person will be on the ship, and Mizastom confirms it. Then Kurapika starts thinking deeply, realizing that recovering the stolen eyes is his top priority, so he agrees immediately. He then asks Mizastom to let him see the identity of that person, Mizastom takes out a photo and gives it to Kurapika, explaining that this man, the fourth prince of the Kakin Empire, Tseridnich Huiguoru, is the confirmed possessor of the stolen scarlet eyes. And I think, my friends, we'll stop here for today. Thank you, my friends, for watching.